April 2017 horoscopes. And guys, I don't want to over dramatize, but I believe this will be probably the most important month of the year, if not for a few years, because when I started looking at the astrology of April, I was a bit, overwhelmed, because we will have 4 planets becoming stationary, which means they're not going to be moving in the sky. It will look like they're staying in one place. And when a planet becomes stationary, it means it's changing direction. And I've never, since I've been doing videos in the last 6 years, I've never seen such a convergence of 4 planets at the same time in the same month, changing direction. And when planets change their directions, they become 5 times stronger, and they become 5 times more likely to give big changes in life. And it's changing direction is like reversals in the directions and derailing of the train and starting on a different path. So it's going to be such a huge month, and I'm going to walk you through each of the planets, what it means for each of the signs. So bear with me, I think, because you have to watch this video, because it's going to be if you don't watch any other monthly video, watch at least April. And before I start, just wanted to tell you that from May, sometime in May, I'm starting a 6-month course in astrology, and every 2 weeks I'll be speaking about for 3-4 hours on a Sunday about each sign, starting with Aries, Taurus, what it means to have planets in Aries, what it means to have Aries in a certain house, what it means to have Aries ascendant, why Aries or Taurus or whatever sign you are, guys, what it means to have each sign. We're going to go in depth. We're going to start astrology 101. And even if you never learn anything else about astrology, but understand in depth each sign for the 3-4 hours that I'm going to do weekly, this is going to be enough for you to actually even predict for the people, because just knowing someone ascendant can help you see the fate and the money and the health and the career and the relationships and the love and the karma of a person just by knowing their ascendant sign. And I'll teach you how to see all of this. We're going into a really esoteric and astrology without needing to know any astrology. And if you subscribe for the whole course, which is 12 signs, you get it half price. If not, you can just get each one for $29, whichever sign you want to see. Gemini, April 2017. And Gemini, all those stationary planets will affect you strongly as well, because the planet that rules you, Mercury, is going also to become stationary for a big part of for a big part of the month, and it's gonna turn retrograde as well. And this for Gemini, you feel it a couple of times a year, sometimes 3 times a year, when Mercury goes retrograde. And things tend to slow down a little bit with you guys. You have to go back to the past. You, as Gemini, are here. Sorry, that's Pisces. Oops. I need a pencil that writes better. So if that's Gemini, Mercury, your planet that rules you, is going to go retrograde here in your 12th house. The 12th house is the one above. Which means that something from the past might be coming back. The 12th house rules the past. The 12th house rules the things we've put like in a box and locked away from our brain and we've forgotten about. Something that has been removed from our consciousness in a sense, but it's still there in the past, maybe even past lifetime or something from the past. And Mercury going stationary and then retrograde means that something, because you are Mercury, something from the past can come to the surface from your subconscious up to your consciousness to be reevaluated, to be examined in a different light, to be seen from different lens, basically. And when a planet, before it goes retrograde, it almost becomes still. So for about 10 days at the beginning of April till the middle of April, Mercury is almost like still in the sky, which you can also feel it the same, like slowing down. Your life is a bit slowing down, and almost like you're sitting in a meditation. That's what Vedic astrologers compare it to. When a planet becomes stationary to turn direction, is like a person who goes into meditation, calms themselves, centers themselves. And what does meditation do? It reprograms you on a deep molecular level. It can change your psychology, it can change your perspective. That's why planets, when they go retrograde, a person's perspective changes. And your planet goes retrograde, you're gonna change about something in regards to the past. Or you can be very much examining matters and having to reevaluate and having to re-examine and to correct some mistakes that were made in regards to practical material matters, because Mercury, your planet, goes retrograde in Taurus, which is a practical sign connected to resources, to finances, to stability, to material things overall. So something has to be re-examined, something has to be corrected if there was a mistake, something has to be seen from a different perspective. But maybe especially in regards to losses, because the 12th house rules losses, expenses and things like that, that you might be changing something there, that you might be changing how you're dealing with handling practically Taurus and managing Mercury, your energy, how you expend it, because the 12th house is where you expend, where you spend, where the money, energy, money is also energy. And you're starting to shift that focus, you're starting to see a different way to do that. And there might be some expenses that also come for more practical material matters as well. So be aware of that when Mercury goes retrograde in the 12th house. And then Mercury by May will start moving forward again. So I think somewhere at the beginning of May. So things will start getting untangled as well. But another thing you can do is, like, you might have to complete some project, Gemini, that you started. Because 12th house is the past. It's the last house before your house. You're the first house, Gemini. So the last house is about completions, endings, correcting mistakes, putting the final touches to something. And Mercury retrograde becomes much more focused on detail on as well. Especially in regards to something practical, tangible, which is Taurus, that you might have to be completing and putting extra efforts. Retrograde planets and stationary planets, because they're so much stronger in impact, 5 times stronger, they say, especially when they become stationary, they require 5 times more efforts and more concentration, and they give us 5 times more concentration of power to complete some tasks, in your case, to finish something, to end up something, to correct some mistakes from the past, So that's one thing to be aware of, Gemini. And by the way, Mercury also rules your 4th house, because Mercury rules Virgo, and for Gemini, ascendant, sun or moon people, Virgo rules your 4th house. So something in regards to your family can be coming from the past, or something that has to be something connected to home, to property, to place of living, or from early childhood matters. Something, maybe your mom, maybe your place of birth, that you might be revisiting, going back to, for example. And 12th house also rules travel of some sort. If you live in a different country, you might go revisit your family or home, or touch base with your roots in some way. Or 12th house is because some expenses that might have to happen in regards to your home, in regards to your property, in regards to your family, something that has not been in regards to property documents or papers that have to be revised, that have to be corrected, some mistakes as well. That's another possibility that it can happen. 4th house, according to ancient astrology, rules vehicles. You might have to revisit, edit something, some problem with the vehicle as well. These are some of the mundane manifestations that can happen. I try to be as practical as possible. And okay, what else is happening? So if you slow down, if you find yourself becoming more, maybe even, when people describe it, when the planet that rules them slows down and starts moving backwards, they can start feeling a little bit more lethargic, especially in the 12th house, when the planet that rules you is in the 12th house, where there isn't much energy. Just be aware of that. If you're feeling a bit more emotional, if you're feeling a bit more sensitive, that's the influence of your planet going retrograde in April and becoming stationary. But as I said, it gives you 5 times more power to change something in regards to all those, in regards to your whole life, because Mercury rules your 1st house, in regards to your perspective about life, in regards to the direction about life, completing something from the past, and all those things that we mentioned. Then we have Venus also. Let's see, Saturn. Saturn is going to be turning become stationary, and I explained for all the videos in Sagittarius, which is your 7th house, guys, of relationships. Stationary retrograde is about to turn direction for quite a few months, for 4 months, I think, approximately. So the whole of April, Saturn stays on the same degree, the 27th degree of Sagittarius, and especially Gemini born in the last 5 degrees of Gemini can feel it very strongly. Basically from 25 to 30 degrees of Gemini, even from 24, 23 degrees of Gemini. I would say the last day, people born the last decan, as they call it, of Gemini. So basically the last 10 days when the sun was in Gemini would be what, from the 11th to the from the 12th to the 22nd of June or something like that. Or if you have your ascendant, sun or moon in Gemini in the last 7-8 degrees, I would say you will feel it a big change. Saturn is making such a huge mark, even for all Geminis. Saturn is in your sign of relationships. It's becoming stationary. It's leaving a big mark there. When you become stationary, it's as if you've been walking on drying concrete. This is how they express it. And you know, you leave little marks, but all of a sudden, if you stop, what are you going to do? You're going to make a big hole. You're going to sink into the drying concrete. You're going to make a much bigger impression. That's what happens when the planet becomes stationary. And is about to turn direction after that. So Saturn will make a much bigger impression in regards to your, with its nature in regards to your relationship, which means that April you can be feeling much more serious in regards to relationships. You might be asked to take some much bigger or serious responsibilities in regards to some contract, in regards to some agreement, in regards to some business or personal relationship. Maybe a partner can become more demanding, can start changing their behavior in some way as well, having more gravitas, having more, that's the best case, having more gravitas. You're having to respect someone more, to kind of take into consideration their demands, because Saturn is a demanding planet. Saturn is a strict planet. Maybe your partner can become more strict, more demanding, or can require more attention, can require more how do I say, or maybe someone you work with, because 7th house is all cooperations that we have with others, all interactions with others on a one-to-one basis. It might be client, it might be a colleague that you're working mutually in a project with, it might be a personal love relationship partner, or it might be someone, a business partner that you have a contract with, that you cooperate with, that some project that demands much more Saturnian energy and pressure on you to work harder, to be more organized, to be more structured, to set clear boundaries, to define clear, to reconstruct something, to change the direction of the structure of those relationships and promises in some way, to change the structure of agreements in some way. But also, because Saturn is a heavier planet, it requires more concentrated effort. It's something will be changing, maybe even partnerships, relationships from the past, or some contract or agreements, or some cooperations with others from the past might start coming back, because Saturn will be turning back and for the next 4 or 5 months. So they can be worked even harder on. A retrograde planet requires 3 times more effort and gives 3 times more better results if the efforts, you know, if you resolve those blockages. But Saturn can create some blockages, some slowing down there, some tests. But again, if you work 3 times harder in regards to those contracts, relationships, negotiations, business deals of any sort, is also 7th house. Client partner relationships as well, personal marriage, interpersonal relationships, something might be, some blockage or testing can be happening, some change in the life of your partner as well. But if you work through them, which is what the energy of Saturn is, working hard through something, persevering despite delays, becoming more serious, more responsible, looking for tried and tested paths of Saturn is very just, of justice somehow, of equalizing something as well. And growing up, maturing, taking responsibilities in regards to such matters, you will be rewarded with really great results after that, maybe a few months down the line. Okay, so that's another thing. Then we have another planet changing direction, and that's Venus. Venus is the planet that's been going retrograde for the March already, and in April, from the middle of April, it's turning direction. It's becoming stationary, a big part of April, basically a week before the middle of April and a week after the middle of April. Venus becomes stationary, which means it sits in one place almost at the exact degree, around 26, 27 degrees again, and it's turning direct after that from the middle of April. But you'd feel the stationary influence. It's almost stopped in the sky in the whole middle of April for, I'd say, half of it, you know, in the middle of April. and it's making actually a 90-degree, a difficult aspect, as we call it, square, with Saturn in your 7th house of relationships. So what can it mean? First of all, Venus changing direction in your career house, because Venus is in your career house. My God, so many things are happening. It's creating this presence, this more intensity. You know, remember, planet changing direction is about intensity, making more of an impact, creating some developments on an outer level of some sort, and your mind starting to change, and you taking really important decisions in regards to your career, in regards to your social status. For some Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, this can be like a key critical point where career takes a different direction, where their social status, which is even connected to marriage, because Venus is connected in a difficult aspect with Saturn, and Saturn requires ones to take very practical, serious, somber decisions and to remove from your relationships, Venus or Saturn in the 7th house, or from your social status, things that are no longer productive, things that are no longer constructive. So Saturn can even shave some business or personal relationships, because Venus rules love and relationships, but it's in the 10th house of business and career. And so it can remove, and it can make you reevaluate, and it can make you create some challenge in some certain relationships or certain career projects or in certain career endeavors. But in what way? It doesn't have to be negative. Those challenges means extra efforts, putting extra diligence. This is what Saturn demands, putting extra attention again to detail. Saturn is a practical, material planet. Saturn requires taking extra responsibilities. Maybe, for example, more workload that happens for many of you Geminis, connected to career, connected to some boss that gives you more workload, or maybe some working client relationship that puts more pressure on you, or maybe a partnership that puts more pressure and it requires you to take more worldly responsibilities and duties. There are hundreds and thousands of possible ways it can play out, but I'm trying to tell you the symbology of Venus and Saturn. One is about agreement and relationships. The other one is about, and Venus is about making things fair, and it's in your 10th house of career and social status. So it can be like a pivotal time for matters of your relationship, business or personal, and your social status and career as well. Wow. Okay. So these are, you see, we have Mercury, Venus, and Saturn all changing direction, making a huge impact. And all those three planets, they're very tangible. They're very material planets. You know, Venus rules naturally. Saturn rules work. Mercury rules managing business. Venus rules money as well. So something on a tangible, real level is happening in your life that can influence you. And Pluto is also turning retrograde. It's stationary the whole month, but that's too much. Like, just integrate this information is enough for now, and come back to me when April is here and tell me what is happening. How is this square that is holding the whole month, this very sobering, very realistic, very productive, it can make you work very hard in regards to something to do with clients, with relationships, with your social status, you know. How is it playing out in your life? I'll be looking forward to hear from you. So thank you so much, Gemini, and I will see you next month.